Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another Poem Masters video. And today I want to talk a bit about the new Johto Poem Masters Day new gridded units. We'll talk a bit about them, right? For those who are wondering how they want to grid them or team comps like skill, etc. Right? So, anyways, let's do this then. I guess let's start with Whitney Miltank. So Whitney Miltank again. For these, I'll just go straight up to 5 out of 5 because let's be real, most people have these units at least 3 out of 5, right? Well, 3 out of 5, not 5 out of 5, but whatever, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys have them at 5 out of 5 too, so not gonna bother going 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, etc. Right? So Whitney Miltank is obviously a normal type tech sync pair. So if you look at her stats, there's nothing too crazy at 5 stars even, right? Like the attack is fine, right? It's actually a fine attack stat. The speed's pretty good. All the other stats, I mean, HP is pretty good, but all the other stats kind of suck. So, but it also doesn't matter because she doesn't really use any of those stats, right? So it's fine. So as for her moves, she has a body slam, normal type move, 30% chance to paralyze the opponent. These are all 2 gauge moves. Body slam and stomp, both 2 gauge, 63 BP, normal type moves, physical, right? And then X speed as well, plus speed. You got stomp to flinch, so she is a para flinch unit, right? And you also have some heals, defense buffs here. And then your innate sync nuke is when the opponent is paralyzed. So make sure before you sync with Whitney, if for some reason you are using Whitney to sync nuke, look, her sync nuke is not terrible. It's just that it's normal type, right? But anyways, as for your passive, you do have mastering too. So 30% chance of buffing attack. So if you really just don't have like a max physical attack buffer, it shouldn't be that bad. If you could, get at least 2 of these in, that's nice, I guess. So anyways, in terms of, what lucky skills you want, generally, if you want to just meme with like a Whitney nuke, you could do Crit Strike too, I guess, if you want. If you really want to like meme, like have like an absolutely lucky skill that does nothing, you do super duper effective. But no. As for some actual ones, right? As for some actual ones, you could go with something like one of those entry moves, right? If you do want to just do some damage with her, right? But you could also just do more defense crush to add on top of this defense crush. You could do stuff like healthy healing, whatever, right? You could do fast track. What was the other one, right? The special defense version of mind games. So is that the special defense version of defense crush? You could do that as well. I don't know why it's whatever. So yeah, there's a few options you could go for, right? Another one would be the speed entry, right? Speedy entry, whatever it's called, +2 speed. So then you could just double X speed, and then boom, you have +6 speed for your inertia nuke. But anyways, going into the grid, there's a few ways you want to run her. Most of the time, I'd say most people will probably just want to run her as a pair flincher, right, rather than some like big nuker that could also debuff some defenses. So in this case, you want to come up, pick up hostile environment, defense crush over here, come down here, and then pick up aggravation on stomp, right? So that helps you get some para flinch stuff going on. As for anything else, I don't think it really matters that much. I mean, you can't really afford any of these. These aren't really that useful. I mean, you could pick up one if you really want, like if you're fighting a specific stage that has some AoE moves that hit you, then sure, but otherwise these are kind of whatever, right? And as for the rest, you could pick up some speed, you could pick up some defense stuff, you could pick up move gauge refreshes over here as well, right? That's also an option. You could pick up both move gauge refreshes, right? Some extra speed, that would be nice. But if you want to meme with Miltank nuke, you could also do that as well. You could come up here, pick up inertia, interference sync down here. I would still probably try to go for defense crush, honestly. If you have another paralyzer, you don't have to go for hostile environment, but if you don't, I'd probably try to go for hostile environment, right? Maybe drop one of these sync nodes. So there is that, right? I guess. So again, it really just depends on what you're trying to do. With Whitney, you could either just have her as a para flincher unit that could also debuff physical defense for your team, or have her nuke for some reason. Anyways, so let's get into her sync grid, I guess. Not sync grid, team comps. There's a lot of things you could really run her with, just because again the para flinch thing helps a lot of different units, right? It again really depends on what you want to do. If you want to sync nuke yourself, that's fine too, right? You could just run something like a Sonya to max out your stats. And then just some other unit, maybe to debuff the opponent's physical defense, whatever the heck, right? Yeah, I don't know. There's not that much that could help Whitney's own nuke, I guess. Maybe someone with a bit more reliable interference stuff, that could maybe be something, right? If you want. But yeah, you could do something like this if you want to do Whitney nuke. And outside of that, again, just whatever units that need help, you know, doing like paraflinch stuff, right? I mean, just straight up, just search, let's see, just search anyone with like Harry or whatever, right? Blue Pidgeot, oh, that's not the best one to go for. Grimsley, Kimono, Bisharp, right? If you don't have, you know, Marnie. Same thing, if you don't have Marnie, you could run it with a Wickstrom. I think those are probably the better ones. Maybe Zinnia Salamence if you really want, I guess. So yeah, I'm talking about like mostly the physical damage dealers, because obviously, you know, physical damage dealers, you also get the advantage of also help debuffing the opponent's defenses for your, you know, for your team's physical moves to do more damage. And then obviously the other one is just either it's called what, flinch hitter, right? Not that many units that actually do that. What's the other one? Static shock, I guess, but there's not that many great static shock units that she really works well with, right? And most static shock units also do have an okayish way of, you know, paralyzing opponents, right? I mean, I guess the one that's like not the best over here is like Xatu Cynthia, but again, Xatu Cynthia is like special, so you don't really want to run Miltank with special units. You can, but it's just better with physical units, right? I guess Zekrom's not the greatest at that too, but also you don't really want to run Miltank, like you want to run you want to run these guys with Volkner, right? Is the thing, right? So same thing with Paralysis Synergy. Not all of them, right? But the Electric types, again, most of the time you want to run them with the Vulcan or Luxray if you really need that. But as for some other ones, I guess like, yeah, some of the other ones don't even work super well with her either, right? So yeah, a lot of times it just really depends on what, you know, opponents are facing. Again, she's really nice in certain legendary gauntlets, right? Like the Tornadus one, like the like potentially Cobalion, she should be pretty good in that one as well, right? So it's more so what the opponents have rather than what you have, I guess. But anyways, that's Whitney. All right, now let's talk a bit about Bugsy Mega Beedrill over here. So Bugsy Mega Beedrill, again, it is 3-star. So if you do get it to 5-star, he actually gets a lot of stats, right? So goes to a 424 base attack, and then if you Mega this guy, that's a 508 attack, right? That's a really great, really high physical attack boost. And then you have a lot of speed as well, almost 500 speed. Like this guy's like stats, no issue, right? So if you look at the moves, Fell Stinger could buff your attack by 3 when you knock out an opponent with this move. This is super useful because usually once you start knocking out opponents, you're starting to win, unless it's like boss stages in Battle Villa or like Full Force Battle, I guess. But generally, this is not like huge. Sure Crit gives you Sure Crit, which is also not the greatest because he doesn't have an EX, so like Sure Critting isn't like that big of a deal, right? It's Sure Crit is really nice if you are EX, because that's 3 80% crits you have to hit on all 3 opponents. Single target nukes are, you know, I mean, go for the 180%, right? It's not that bad. Twin Needle over here, right, hits twice in a row, so you can see the BP is kind of bad. It does hit twice in a row, so there's that, and Twin Needle is going to be his main damage output move, right? Behold, research, raise your evasion by 3 and the speed by 1. You can use it twice, so you can max out your evasion just from this move, so that's really nice. And then your sync makes you Mega Beedrill, obviously. And then after, actually it's already at Mega, right? So after Mega, you got or just in terms of passive in general, right, you got your Crit Strike 2, you get your amped up, so every time you crit, you will get a speed buff, so very fast unit, right? One of the, you know, fastest units of the game, again with all the extra speed buffs as well. It's just very nice to have. So in terms of skills, right, lucky skills, again, you probably want something like a Crit Strike 2 or Super Power 3 or whatever, right, that's called, I guess, if you really want. So as for the grid, there's a few ways you could go with this. Depends on if you want to sync or not, right? If you don't want to sync, which, I mean, his sync is okay. It's not, like, great, but you do have the option of coming over here, picking up blind spot, right? You could pick up blind spot. You could come up, pick up ramming speed up here, right? And if you want bob and weave is pretty free. Actually, I'd probably just come around here, get that extra attack plus 20 as well, right? Also pretty free, I'd say. And is there any attack nodes? Oh, there's an attack node. All right, pick up a bit of attack, and there we go. That's something if you're trying to sync as well. If you're just going for full DPS, because there's a lot of teams where I guess you want to sync once for Mega Beedrill. You don't have to sync for Mega Beedrill, but it's nice, right? But if for some reason you're not trying to sync with them, which is, again, you know, understandable, right? You could, can you afford? We could barely not afford picking up Toxic Power 3, which, the more I think about it, probably is not that worth it at this point, right? You could pick up some Twin Needle power-ups, I guess. Oh, no. We have this extra attack plus 5. No, we could totally afford it. No, come pick up Toxic Power 3. You don't have enough to also pick up Hostile Environment, all right, which does kind of suck. I mean, if you do something like this, you still don't have enough, right? So I'd rather just have this extra attack plus 20 over here and just hope your thing poisons. 20% chance. Or just have someone else poison, I guess, right? So yeah, I guess those are the general, you know, ways to really build this guy's grid in terms of team comps, right? So this is probably one of the better comps for him. Obviously, I don't think a lot of people are really running this because Ingo, if you're running Ingo, then why are you using Beedrill in the first place? But, you know, for those Beedrill enthusiasts, enthusiasts or Bugsy enthusiasts, I guess if they, you know, just really want something really good for you know, Bugsy, right? I guess you could run this guy. He obviously helps a lot, right, with the speed buffs, evasion buffs. Not that, you know, Bugsy can max it out, you know, on his own, but there's that. Also the defense debuffs, right, as well. So it's really nice. Obviously, Bug Zone's the big thing over here, but again, the issue is, like, if you run Bugsy with Ingo's just gonna be nuking instead, right? Which, I mean, in this case, fine. You just don't mega with Beedrill. You just, like, nuke with this guy. And then obviously you want someone to max out your physical attack and crit, right? Which in this case could be Aaron, doesn't have to be Aaron, just could be anything else, like a 3 out of 5 Hilbert or Sonya or whatever else that gives you a hop, right? A BP surge. I was just about to say Bugsy and Scyther, but there's two Bugsies, you can't run them both. But yeah, he's just really nice. He gives you everything. Attack buffs, crit buffs, defense buffs, some heals here and there, right? And, you know, got a 3-gauge damaging move as well if you want in Bug Zone. So, yeah, again, you don't have to do this. If you don't have Ingo, obviously, you could run a multitude of other things, right? As long as you have someone to max out Bugsy's physical attack and crit, that last slot could be honestly anything. If you're picking up the toxic power thing, you could maybe throw in someone to help, you know, buff the try to toxic the opponent, I guess, or poison the opponent, or you could just throw in any other bug type damage dealer, whether it's Guzma, maybe Pheromosa, right? Like a lunge Pheromosa, I guess. Alder, who's self-sufficient. The other bug bro, right? What's his name again? Emmett, right? And Bug Gladian if you want, right? Because I'll help, you know, debuff the opponent's defenses a bit. So yeah, or someone just to buff Bugsy's speed a bit faster. So again, there's a lot of options that you could run over it because he is so fast, right? So you could definitely afford to run a second damage dealer over there instead, right? So anyways, that's Bugsy Beedrill. Next, let's talk about Will and Xatu. Will and Xatu looks slightly confusing, but it's actually pretty straightforward, right? So if you look stats first, get him to 5-star, you'll have 289 special attack, which is not a lot of special attack, by the way, right? But you do have 430 speed, which is a lot. You have a lot of defense, special defense, and not that much HP. So looking at the moves, stored power is obviously your key here, right? Stored power is very powerful at 15 BP, but obviously, you know, the more buffs you get, the more this BP increases. 2-gauge move. Confuse Ray is very useful because you do have the Confusion Synergy node on your grid over there, right? Also, you do have the innate sync nuke multiplier when the opponent's confused as well. Power's limitless. You could steal, well, not steal, but you copy some of the opponent's stats and double them, in fact, right? And the air slash could flinch opponents, which if you want to run him just for like a tech thing, then sure. Right, but mostly he's here to do damage. Mostly he's here to do impervious, can't get Stats Lord. So anyways, in terms of lucky skills, again, he is a damage dealer, right? 100% damage dealer, so you want to do something like a Crit Strike 2, right? Nuke's very, very powerful, Store Power's very, very powerful, right? So you want to get them both in. And yeah, as for the sync grid over here, you want to try to pick up Confusion Synergy 2. If you're trying to nuke with this guy, Sync Power Flux and Interference Sync are really, really nice as well. So maybe something like this, right? Try, you know, try something like this, pick up the Sync with Power Up nodes, and, you know, there's an extra special attack +5. Boom, you got a grid that could do good damage and store power. Could have random buffs for yourself, right? 50% chance of getting one of these random buffs. Again, more buffs you have, stronger store power is. And then you have a 30% on interference sync, and then obviously the big sync power flux multiplier as well, right? So a lot of good things over here. If you just want to run him as some kind of, obviously if you're DPSing, then you ignore these. And you could just pick up more stored power nodes, because each +1 stored power gets multiplied, and it's just very, very powerful, right? So you want some of that, I guess. Maybe stop hitting yourself just because there's not anything else that's like a huge deal. Again, if you're for some reason not syncing with them. As for like a fully like tech-ish sort of build, I guess, which again, he's not that, you know, it's just a waste of using him as a tech unit, but I guess you could do that, right? Go pick up aggravation on air slash. What else? And Moon Gauge Refresh 9 on Confused Ray, I guess. Stop hitting yourself. If you're running him in Psychic Terrain, you can pick up this stuff. This stuff is not a huge deal, though, right? So, as for whatever else, you go for some stats if you want. You go for Fortuitous 4 if you want. Although you can't afford it, so you can't do that. Never mind. I thought you could afford that. Actually, yeah, you can. So, yeah, just pick up some stat nodes, man. Just pick up, like, I don't know, move Gauge Refresh on Stored Power is fine as well, right? So yeah, again, he's mainly a damage dealer, right? Mainly a damage dealer. Anyways, moving into some team comps for this guy, right? So this is probably one of the better teams in my opinion, right? You throw in a Will, you have Annie May to set Psychic Terrain to also help buff Will's special attack, right? And then you have Ho, which, you know, after you set Sun, could potentially max out Will's crit for one, and gives you all those random buffs, right? Ho buffs your defenses, both defenses, speed, all that stuff, right? So Ho's really, really, really nice, especially if you have stuff like team give even 5, all these, you know, random stats after the support EX sync, and also the passive when you first use your Sun as well. So those are some really, really nice things. Obviously, these are, you know, not everyone has these. You don't have to throw these in. You can still do with Bianca, right? You did Bianca, and then over here you want someone that could max special attack and max crit, right? So you want to go for, let's see, is there, I don't, oh, okay, there we go. You want to go for like a special support, right? You could do Sabrina. You do need a bit of MP refresh though over there. I guess you could do Singsu Blue if you want to, if you're willing to wait, because it's going to be very, very slow with Singsu Blue, but he does give you a lot of stats, right? But it's going to be very, very slow. I guess if you get enough MP refreshes on this guy, it will work too. Obviously not extremely reliable. Lyra is an option, right? Once she does get an EX. So after you sync with the support EX, and then you get the Sun up, and then boom, you max out speed, attack, special attack, and crit for your team. All the crit you could max out beforehand, right? So that's really, really nice. I think she also has some special defense buffs that she could give out with Light Screen, if I remember correctly, right? Togepi is also a big, you know, it's kind of like Singsu Blue, right? It gives you a lot of stats, but it's just very, very slow, unfortunately. Falconer give you all that stuff, just a bit frail. Talked about S and Morty. What else? This Sabrina, right, also really nice. Could max out all those stats as well. She can max out all those stats, although you need a lot of MP refresh for that crit. She's good, right? Although you just can't. I mean, no. You can't get everything topped up that well. I guess Ingo maybe. What else? I think that's the Cell Seal is a big one, right? And the new Lily. So yeah, a lot of options. Just anyone who can max out special attack, max out crit, and extra points if they could buff other random stats, right? So yeah, anyways, that's me this one, I guess. So be all gentlemen, guys, think in the comments down below. Like, enjoy the video, subscribe and channel for some more Pokemon content. I'll see you guys in the next one then.